Lesbian Detectives. Unsolved cases. She's still missing. Yeah, they haven't found her yet. Well, let's talk about it.
They say he vanished without a trace. Could it be a psychotic break? Or a tragic accident? Police don't know where the body went. Unsolved murders, body still missing. That's unheard. Where's the witness? Lesbian detectives, what's going on? City on high alert, this out the norm. He did what, the who? Man, that ain't real, these crimes ain't true. Then come uncover these theories with us. We live right now, tuning in is a must.
Lesbian Detectives. Lesbian Detectives. We about to start the show, so get your popcorn ready, let's go. Pay attention to the message. I present to you the Lesbian Detectives.
This is Lesbian Detectives. I'm Sierra.
And I'm Elizabeth.
And we are here talking about missing and unsolved murders.
We are discussing cases that you have forgotten about or never even heard of.
So sit back, relax, and let's start this podcast. Welcome back, everybody. I hope we all had a fantastic weekend. I know we did. We actually recorded on another podcast that's already out. I will have it in the description below so you can go and check it out. It was amazing. We went on Patricia podcast and we had an amazing time. It was fun giving our theories. We talked about a case that's over 90 years old. It was amazing. And of course, me and my wife didn't have the same theories. We went on there to tell our theories on the case, and it was amazing doing that for her. And I had a fantastic time, and I will put the episode in the description. It's on YouTube, so please go check it out.
Patricia was an amazing host, and I love the fact that she provided a lot of suspense, a lot of detail, and overall it was just a beautiful experience. We're gonna collab together again sometime near the future, but yeah, check us out.
Let us know if you want her to come on our podcast.
Right, yeah.
Check it out and then let us know. Come like, oh yeah, you have to do it again. It'll be fun to have somebody come on our podcast, tell them our stories and host them. Today's case is about a 7-year-old girl staying home from school with a cold, but as the day went on, she felt a little better. After her mom helped her get dressed, she sent her to her grandma's house to look at her new outfit, but she never returned home. As the day went on, her mother started getting very worried. Around 5 p.m., she called the police to report her missing. Despite an extensive search involving over 1,200 people, no trace of the little girl was found. Eyewitnesses reported seeing a man with a girl resembling the little girl near the river and heard a scream. Many of the other children said that they had a man come approach them and ask them to get in the car. This is the case of Adele Marie Wells. The story of Adele Marie Wells began in a flicker of flame, a small, delicate spark in a world full of struggles. Born on January 1st, 1951 in Flint, Michigan, to Martha and Carl, Adele was the kind of child who saw the world with wide eyes, trusting. The Wells family, though large and loving, found themselves often living on the edge of hardship. Carl worked long hours at the Chevrolet engineer plant, while Martha stayed at home to care for their children. Life was a constant battle to make ends meet, and Carl's financial misstep left them in a tight spot. Still, through it all, Adele was a bright, kind-hearted little girl. Her smile lighted up any room she entered. Her younger brother, John, was only 5 at the time that she went missing, later recalled her as his best friend.
Mm-hmm.
On the morning of November 21st, 1958, Adele's 7-year-old woke up feeling sick, her little body weighted down by a cold. Her mother, ever the loving caregiver, stayed home while tending to her niece, while keeping a watchful eye on her younger sister. By the afternoon, Adele's energy returned. The fever had passed and a spring returned to her little step. She was eager to return to school to show off her new dress her mother had lovely chosen for her. That morning, Martha helped Adele get dressed, brush her hair with care, her daughter twirling from the mirror a picture of youthful joy. As a mother does, Martha asked one small thing of her daughter. Before heading to school, could she visit her grandmother just down the road to show off her new dress?
Oh my God. That's crazy.
That's
That
how-
sounds like something you would do, though.
That's how I am now. Like when I get my daughter dressed, I immediately take pictures and then still FaceTime my mother for her to see her. Adele happily agreed, a quick kiss on her mother's cheek, and she was off. Her small footstep echoing down the familiar path. Little did anyone know that would be the last time that anyone would see Adele Marie Wells alive. Time passed, but as lunchtime approached and Adele still hadn't returned, a thread of uneasiness began to unravel in Martha's heart. Maybe she went directly to school. Martha thought, but as the hours ticked by, the worry grew. By mid-afternoon, Martha sent one of her daughters to check with the grandmother, but there was no sign of Adele. Something was wrong. By the time the school bell rang, singing the end of the day, Adele was still absent. Panic settled in. Martha made the call to Carl at work. Their little girl was missing. At 5 p.m., the police was contacted, and the search for Adele began. A citywide manhunt with more than 1,200 volunteers, friends, family, and strangers rushed to the Wells neighborhood, scouring out woods, fields, and even riverbanks, hoping for any sign that would lead them to the missing girl. But as the days wore on, nothing was found. It was as if Adele had just vanished into thin air. In the weeks that followed, the investigators took a disturbing turn. An eyewitness began to report unsettling sightings. A man with a light complexion walking with a little girl who resembles Adele.
Did anybody stop him or question him?
They didn't know she was missing yet. So it's like them seeing that the day that she went missing. So they probably didn't assume anything was off. They were seen near the river close to a black Chevrolet with a damaged fender. The police followed up, but the man's identity remained a mystery. More disturbing reports trickled in. Another child spoke of a man in a similar car trying to lure them in, and then a chilling account from a classmate of Adele. She had seen a girl, possibly Adele, being beaten in the river near Jefferson School. A nightmare that no one could quite believe, but everybody feared.
So she didn't say anything?
No. One report was even more haunting. A couple vacationing near Wamplin's Lake heard a young girl scream in the distance. They drove towards the sound, but when they arrived, there was no trace of anything, just silence.
So they drove to the site. That means they could hear the screams, but they weren't close enough to walk, to be there within a minute?
Yeah. Despite the floods of tips and witnesses coming forward, the mystery only deepened. No one knew what happened to Adele. No one knew where Adele had gone or why she had vanished. This case, once filled with hope, began to feel cold. Time moved forward, but the question, what happened to Adele, remained unanswered.
Wow.
The disappearance of Adele destroyed the Wells family in ways no one could anticipate. Martha, devastated by the loss of her daughter, the joy that once filled their home was replaced by a void and a hollow ache that never seemed to fade. Cara, unable to cope with her grief, retreated emotionally. Their marriage, once a pillar of support, crumbled, and they eventually divorced.
It's a toll, I must say. And then, especially if he blames Martha for sending her to go show off the dress, but she didn't know at the time.
And around that time, that was kind of normal, like for your kid to walk alone. It wasn't a big thing.
Right.
We back in the 50s, late 50s, early 60s.
And then say it was a small town where everybody knew everybody. Everybody pretty much kept an eye on everyone. So they didn't see it coming for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it was the guilt and maybe the accusation or something like that that broke them.
Martha, overwhelmed by sorrow, found herself in a fog of despair, spending time in a mental hospital as her children was placed in the care of grandparents. Carol, Adele's sister, later remembered how their mother's spirit had been shattered. It kind of destroyed her. She said the pain still raw even years later.
It's a void that nobody can ever fill.
Mm-hmm. The years went on. Adele's siblings were eventually placed in foster care. Time, they say, heals all wounds. But for Martha, time only deepened the agony of her daughter's disappearance. Her heart never fully healed. Even as her own health went down, Martha clung to the hope that Adele might still be alive, that somewhere someone had taken her and kept her safe, perhaps even with love.
That's optimism right there.
I mean, sometimes I feel like you have to, as a parent, that your child went missing, and you don't have the answer. You hope that, okay, like, what if somebody just wanted to keep her and love her and treat them as their own? That's what she had. That's what she hoped. She don't want to think the negative that might have happened to her daughter. No parent want to think that.
Right.
Martha passed away in 1987, still holding on to hope that her daughter was still close.
Oh.
Carl, meanwhile, severed ties with his children. After divorce and years later, in a tragic twist, John, Adele's beloved younger brother, tried to reconnect with his estranged father. The reunion, however, turned dark. In 1992, Carl shot John in what remains an unclear accident. Though John pleaded for leniency and did not want his father to be in prison, Carl was charged with a misdemeanor and placed on probation.
I don't mean to judge, but the fact that the dad left them, abandoned them when they most needed him, I feel like that was kind of uncool on his part.
The years brought little relief. A woman came forward in 2016 claiming that her aunt adopted a child and it might be Adele.
What?
A DNA test was conducted, but it was not her.
Oh.
The mystery of Adele disappears, it seemed, was destined to remain unsolved. And so this case remained open to this day. The whisper of a missing child, a family torn apart, and a haunting, unanswered question linger. What happened to Adele Marie Wells? Was she taken by a man in the black Chevrolet? Did she ever make it to school? It seemed locked in time, like a shadow that danced just outside of reach. For her family, the search of answers continued, but so does the pain. In the quiet corners of Flint, the haunted memories of Adele disappears still lingers, a mystery that refused to fade. Before we end this case, let's remember the little girl that went missing. She was a kind-hearted little girl. She was cherished by her family and friends. She had just started her little life, and she was going to visit her grandmama to show off her cute little dress. Her mother worked so hard to find her daughter, and the days leading before her death, she still had hope that her daughter was found. This is the case of Adele Marie Wells. Now let's get into some theories.
Let's get into some theories.
You or me?
Go ahead.
I always go first, I figured. I think it's hard looking back. I feel like, as I said in the case, she did have a difficult life. It seemed like her father, they didn't say, but it seemed like he was just not good with money and the family was struggling because of him. And then for her to have this pretty dress on, and I feel like her mother probably was so happy that her daughter felt pretty in a little dress. We don't know if she bought it or made it.
Right.
And she just sent her off to go visit her grandmother, like, hey, go visit your grandmother. And then you may, come home for lunch and then you go to school.
Right.
But I think on her way, I don't know, I'm thinking like a little 7-year-old. My mom like, hey, go to your grandmama's house and then come back for lunch and then go to school. I'm thinking as a 7-year-old, I probably did half that, I'm like, okay, I'm going to go to my grandma's house and then I'm going to go to school. She probably want to have lunch with her friends. She probably didn't want to have lunch at home. I don't think she ever made it to school. I think she was abducted before she made it to school. And the only reason I say that, I feel like the man, he had to take her on the way home to go to lunch. That was the plan for her to go visit her grandmama, come back home, and then go to school. I feel like the person took her in mid-walk. She was 7. Back in the 50s, it's probably like, hey, I'll drive you. I think it was a stranger. I don't think it was somebody that she knew. Also, I feel like all the eyewitnesses situations, I somewhat believe them and I somewhat don't. The one about a car, like having a lot of kids, like trying to lure them in, that kind of creeped me out a little bit. It's like, how many kids was this person trying to lure in,
Right.
Like, and I also remember the Lester Patterson case. You remember that a lot of kids said that someone trying to lure them in and a little boy almost get kidnapped. That kind of remind me of our first case a little bit.
Yeah, it was somebody on the hunt for sure.
And I feel like they got that person.
Why didn't any of the kids report him?
They probably did report them. I feel like if a kid just getting kidnapped, they probably would tell the parents. Now, if the parents went and told the school, then that's a different thing. I really don't know. Well, sometimes we have learned in our cases that schools do hide information. We have to know that because we have seen it in the past. So what if the parents did tell the school, like, hey, like this is happening, like, the kids should be like more on watch.
Yeah, but I feel like the parents should also be on the watch, like you said.
Mm-hmm.
If she knew that there was somebody out there that was kidnapping kids, she probably would have walked her daughter to the grandma's house and to school to prevent something like that. I agree with what you said, that it was a total stranger because they weren't really aware of a person like this in their neighborhood.
Listen to the mom. She had so much hope that her daughter was going to be found. And I think that's the hardest part. And for her to say like, oh, they might took her and still and loved her and took care of her. That's the hard part because it's like we know and we have did cases before. That's not really a possibility. And I feel like the mother knew like this not going to be a possibility, but she still kind of had hope. And I feel like hope is very important. Always have hope. Never let your hope die down. Never give up because that little hope that you have can go a long way.
Right. I mean, I feel like it's an easier pill to swallow, the fact that somebody else is going to care for your daughter the same way that you did, even though it's kind of messed up on how they took her. Thank God I'm not in her shoes, but it's definitely a hard pill to swallow.
She went down hard when she lost a little girl. And I see a lot of parents that their kids go missing, that they do just spiral down. Like they can't take the pain of not knowing what happened to their daughter. And we can see Martha, you can see what happened to her. She went to a mental home. Her kids went to foster care. Her kids said that like their mother, the hope, like their mother was not the same anymore.
Right.
She was a loving mother. Like you could tell that she really took care of her kids, that she loved them with everything. But for her just to lose her daughter, she went down. And then back in the early 50s, we know because we watched some documentaries about what happened in mental homes. So we don't even know what happened over there. They could have really had her doped up and all this feeling because they didn't have the right therapy back then for depression. Because it seemed like she did have depression.
Yeah.
And it seemed like back then they probably like, oh, let's pop her with some pills, sedate her. They didn't have the help that they have now.
Yeah. I mean, people back then didn't really know how to deal with their emotions in a healthy manner. So I understand that she just went into like an abysmal. And it's unfortunate that she lost everything when she lost her daughter. They even lost their father.
I'm gonna be honest, and please don't hate me in the comments. Do we really believe that he was a good father, though? Because I feel like just going through the research and then I'm telling you guys, it feel like he was a man that's like, oh, I'm gonna work. But it seemed like his family struggled because he wasn't good with money. And for you, like, hey, my daughter go missing, F my other kids, and cause they mother, she's depressed, she's down. That's for you as another parent to pick up the slack that she's not doing.
To step up.
But he wasn't doing that. He said, forget y'all, let me go and live my best life. And then you shot your other kid. Let's talk about that. And your child, he loved him that much. Just thinking about that. His other child wanted his father so much that he said, hey, I'm not pressing charges. Please, please take it easy on him. And that's the only reason this man got off on probation.
Wow.
And that's another thing that's sad. A kid that had a father that really wasn't there. He was 5 when his sister went missing. His parents divorced and he left the family. After divorce, he said, forget y'all. But his son wanted his father so bad that he went looking for him. He already lost his sister. Then his mother went down with depression and then she died. Basically to me of a broken heart because she died heart failure, but it seemed like a broken heart. And then his father, he go looking for him and then his father shot him. And then he still loved his father that much to say, hey, please, judge, don't send him to jail. Please take, this is my father. I love him. He didn't mean it. Let's talk about some of the sightings. Okay, you have the first one that the kids saying that they was getting lured to the car. We talked about that one, but also let's talk about the little girl that said she saw her getting beaten. She's 7 years old. So 7 or 8 because she was a classmate of hers. So she's 7 or 8. If that's really true, and that was Adele or another little girl, that's sad right there. She made it to the grandmama house.
So she was abducted on her way to school.
To school or back home. So the idea was for her to come back to her mom's house afterwards and then go to school. But she didn't do that. So it's like, we don't know that she like, oh, let me just go. Because her mom assuming she just went to school because her sister went and checked. Grandma said, yeah, she was there. And she left. A group of kids of her school said, hey, yeah, a man was trying to lure us in the car. So the police looked into that. And one thing I have to say that looking into this case, the police really, really did their job. They looked into everything that came their way. Even if it was the craziest thing or the smallest thing, they looked into it. So I have to applaud them for that.
Mm-hmm.
So it wasn't just bad police work at all. So that's not this case. It was just evidence, really.
Or not enough information.
Mm-hmm. But it seemed like people was coming and say, hey, this man was trying to lure us in the car. That I hate that the kids they told the police officer how the car was. And I wonder if they can go back. See, sorry guys, I watch so much Criminal Minds, CSI, don't judge me. But I wonder if they can go back and see the car records for that time and see who had that type of model and fender. That's a very important thing. Yeah. The kid said that he had a broken fender. Mm-hmm. That's very important because I feel like the technology back then, it wouldn't have what the kids needed.
Right.
I wonder if they can go back and look at the records because if his fender was broken, I wonder if he ever got it fixed around that time period. Because he had to hear the kids like, yeah, his fender was broken, or he could have ditched his car a long time ago.
But that's if they actually even notified anybody, which it appeared that they didn't because he was still out there doing the same thing.
I feel like it was a stranger danger, and I feel like the kids was telling the police like, hey, this man's trying to lure us in his car. I wonder if it was any other cases similar to hers around that time. Because it seemed like he was a predator. He was looking for prey. It seemed like he found it in her, and I wonder did he ever go out and search for another victim? Or was it a victim before her? For him just to kidnap her with nobody seeing it on an afternoon.
I feel like it depends the reason that he kidnapped her. I mean, it's a slim chance that he kidnapped her because he couldn't have children of his own and he's trying to raise her as such, but that's highly unlikely. So depending on that, I feel like if the perpetrator would strike again or not, depending on what his reasoning was.
I mean, they never have good reasons of why they do the things that they do. We all know that by now. I always go back to the 7-year-old or 8-year-old little girl that's in her class. I don't feel like a kid will really make up that type of story. But for her to say it out loud, say, yeah, I saw her getting beaten by this man. I wonder if the police, they probably did look where the little girl said, hey, that she saw it at. But I wonder if another little girl, if it wasn't Adele, I wonder if another little girl went missing around that time too.
Yeah.
I feel like this case has so many possibilities. A couple possibilities is if it's a stranger danger, or if it's a friend from church or school or somebody that she knew, or it was just, we don't know, she probably fell and hurt herself. It's so many possibilities that could have happened to this young girl. And that's a sad thing to say, but to a mother, to another mother, that her mother had that much of a fight to say, hey, like, I still have hope. I'm still praying that my daughter walked through the door, even her last dying breath. That's so sad to me. And
Yeah.
whoever did that to this family, they ruined this family, honestly, because people don't know their actions have a reaction. You want to be evil and hurt somebody, you damaged his family. The mother is depressed. She had to go to a mental home. Her kids was taken away to foster cares, and some lived with their grandma. Their father just left. He said, forget his kids. He just left. And these kids, they didn't have a support system. And that's hard because you're looking at the kids. When you have siblings, you can speak on it. Your sister go missing. Your mom, she's emotionally not there. Your dad just gone. And you have to go with your grandmother, live in this home, live in that home. These kids went through a lot because somebody just want to be evil and take a little girl. Like, do y'all see what y'all do to family members? They don't really care. Let's just be honest. They don't care. They want to do what they want to do. They never think of what will happen to the other people that it will affect.
I just feel like it was a stranger because it was a small town. People know everybody kind of there, and they interviewed a couple witnesses, but nobody was able to really identify them. So I feel like it was just somebody random trying to get what they want, and once they did, they kind of left town.
Well, this is the end of our case, guys. I hope you enjoy it, and I hope you liked it. If you have any comments, please go in the comments in our YouTube or inbox us or go to our social medias and tell us, what do you think about this case? Please let us know. We are on all social medias. We are on YouTube. We are on all major podcast platforms. Please follow us on Spotify, YouTube, Apple. Everybody listen to your podcast. Listen and hit that notification button. Let you know when a new episode will hit. Please, guys, give us a 5-star rating. I can't wait to hear your theories on this case. I'm Sierra.
And I'm Elizabeth.
This is Lesbian Detective. Don't forget, everybody's a suspect.
Until proven innocent.
Bye.
Lesbian Detectives. Unsolved cases. She's still missing. Yeah, they haven't found her yet. Well, let's talk about it.
They say he vanished without a trace. Could it be a psychotic break or a tragic accident? Police don't know where the body went. Unsolved murders, body still missing. That's unheard. Where's the witness? Lesbian detectives, what's going on? City on high alert, this out the norm. He did what, the who? Man, that ain't real, these crimes ain't true. Then come uncover these theories with us. We live right now, tuning in is a must.
Right now, Lesbian Detectives. Lesbian Detectives. We about to start the show, so get your popcorn ready to go. Pay attention to the message I present to you, the Lesbian Detectives.